So what we're going to talk about today is just the general understanding of what you should be working for if you're not working for money. And the way I think about it is, let's be real. What do you really want? So if you're not working for money, you're working for the real goal. And I keep saying real for a reason. Real is an acronym. In my mind, I look at it as this. You're working for relationships, that's the R. You're working for experience, that's the E. You're working for assets, that's the A. And you're working for lifestyle. Ultimately, the whole reason why you're working is to build the life and the lifestyle that you want. So I'm going to just give you examples from my life. Relationships. When you go to work, especially as a young person, as an entrepreneur, somebody just getting in corporate America, you have to always be thinking about the end goal. And the way that you carry yourself at work, the way that you interact with people at work, the effort that you put in projects and tasks and goals, that is building your legacy. That's building your social resume for what you want to accomplish in the future. So the way I look at it is, don't think about the current job as the time you get there, the time you leave, the money you make on that job. Think about it as the social currency that you're building every single day you show up. And when you view it that way, then you're going to be willing to work way harder. You're going to be willing to spend extra time, energy, and effort on the projects and the tasks that you're given, not because you think that you're being fairly compensated for the work you're doing. Goal is to overwork, over deliver for what you're being paid to do. And if you do that, it's not about the money, especially on the first 5 years of your working career. It is not about the money. It is about standing out to the people that can help vouch for you in rooms that you're not in. And so when you think about it in those terms, every time you show up, you're actually building blocks towards the future that you want. And when you build these relationships with senior leadership, with your own peer group, you are essentially creating a bunch of opportunities for you in the future, because everybody you work with is going to at some point go somewhere else. They're going to do something different for the most part, and they're going to have influence in areas that you might not even realize. I'll give you an example in my life. So my last 2 to 3 multi-six-figure salaries or multi-six-figure job opportunities have come from direct relationships that I've built over the span of my 10-year working career. And it's crazy when I think back on it, because early on, I always thought that you work hard, you interview, you get your resume intact. If you want that next role, you got to apply, stand out in the crowd. And what really happens is, hey, this new position opened up, this director role, this VP role, and they're not looking at thousands and thousands of resumes submitted online first and foremost. Usually they're going to say, hey, CFO, senior vice president, you know anybody who's good for this role, who you worked with in the past that you can vouch for? And 9 times out of 10, the guy or the girl who's got that social currency, who, 5 years ago, that CFO remembered, man, I had this one employee that was an absolute all-star. They always gave 110% effort, everything they did. And now I want to look for that person, because I don't want to have to guess if the person I hire will be successful in this role. It's too important of a role for me to play the odds. I'm going to just go to the person that I know is going to deliver, because I've seen him or her deliver so many times in the past. Building that relationship currency is so important. I'm probably do a whole video just on that. But that's the first R. You're working to build your resume on a social and a mental level, and not just financially early on. The next thing you're doing is working for experience. That's the E. Think about it like this. The experience that you gain on any job you go to will make you millions potentially in the future. So it's not about the salary that you make right now. Working for experience is the reason to work, especially as a young person. And so the top thing to keep in mind is, most wealthy people understand that the hours they work shouldn't be directly tied to the dollars that they make. They understand that if you pour your years of experience or your level of expertise into something, that thing can generate tons and tons of money in the future without them ever having to do any work. But the key is you have to have something worthy of people paying you for. And in order to get the accolades or the recognition in the future, you first have to be in some degree an expert in your field or a level of have a level of confidence in the things that you're saying or teaching for people to want to pay you. How do you get to that level of excellence? Well, you need the experience. So early on in your career, I stress this to everybody I talk to who's younger than me and older than me. Please take roles that you will learn the most in those roles. Don't go to the easy money making role right now that might cap your level of experience in 3 years, and then your earning potential is decreased so significantly after that. No, you take that role at that startup when you're young. You take that role at that turnaround company. You go and work for that tech company that's going to give you, a very, very high level of work with a very short learning curve so that you can excel quickly in your level of knowledge and then have that experience to take forward everywhere else you go. I promise you, it might seem like a hard path at first, but when you're 5 years in, when you're 10 years in, when you're 15 years into your career, and you've got the experience of people who have been working at the same company for 30 years, now you can speak to all these things. You can coach, you can consult, you can do so many different things because you've gotten the experience and the education along the way. That's what you're working for. Next, assets. And I want to be clear, appreciating assets. So there's a difference between buying assets or working for assets or working for appreciating assets. When I say appreciating assets, I'm talking about you're working to earn an income, but with that income, you should be laser focused on assets that will provide you earning power in the future. So, what does that look like? That could look like I'm working so hard so that I could take the extra funds I'm making, put those in the stock market, and very quickly find the path to financial freedom because the equity is going to grow in those stocks. Or I'm working so that I can take all this extra money that I'm getting and invest it in real estate. And now my properties over time can pay for my lifestyle and I don't need to work again. But even when you think about just the normal 9 to 5 jobs, if at all possible, you should be working and striving towards finding opportunities that are going to give you equity. Equity in a company is the same thing as an appreciating asset that you go and buy, but you're working, you're trading your time for money. But what's more important than trading your time for money is trading your time for partial ownership in these companies. So it should be your top priority if you're going to be in corporate America for the long term to take a little piece of every company that you work for back with you whenever you leave that company. And the way you do that is you say, I'm focused on opportunities that are giving me a piece of the pie. I want something that's going to say, okay, if you work 2 years, 3 years, 4 years at this organization, every single year, you're going to get this amount of stock and this amount of equity. And over time, you might leave with a certain number of shares, but those shares 10 years from now, 15 years from now, could be worth way more than even the salary that you made in any 1 year working at that job. Wealthy people understand that. People that have financial freedom understand that. A lot of people in my community growing up had no clue. It was all about the salary and the dollars you made today. So I implore you, work for assets. Assets are going to be the real estate you could purchase from the income you make. It's going to be the stocks you invested in your 401k plan and outside in your brokerage account. And it's going to be the equity that if you're lucky enough and you're focused enough to find companies who are going to give you shares that vest over time, You want to gravitate to those roles so you can build that equity, so you can have those assets, so that no matter what happens when you leave that company, you still have something of ownership that's going to appreciate. And last, you're working for a lifestyle. The whole reason why we go to work, in my opinion, is to have the lifestyle and the legacy that we want after the fact. So why would you take a role that's going to suck your soul? Why would you take a job that over an extended period of time is going to make you a worse person, make you less pleasant to be around with less energy? You can sacrifice for a moment if you're trying to build the first three steps. If you're trying to build relationships, if you're trying to gain experience, or if you're trying to grow an asset base, that would be a reason to sacrifice lifestyle in the short term to build the life you want long term. But never lose sight of what you actually want out of life. Do you want freedom? Do you want to live in a certain location? Do you want a certain relationship with your significant other? Do you want to be able to coach Little League for your kids? If you know that going in, then you can say, I'm working right now, and I'm even willing to work over and above what is required of me today to have the lifestyle and build the legacy I want in the future. If you really have the priorities set, then everything that you do is going to be directly pushing your agenda forward, so that now you can say, I've got a 5-year plan, I've got a 10-year plan. I can sacrifice today for the legacy I'm building, for the lifestyle I'm building when I'm 35, if you're 25, or when I'm 45, if you're 35. And if you look at it at a 5-year or a 10-year span with an actual step-by-step progression towards that, then you'll be surprised what life you can build.